You're listening to First Paso. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first paso. Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olusola, and I am so excited to get to know all of you and grow with you as well. But let me tell you a little bit about myself first. I'm a licensed pharmacist in the state of Kentucky. I am currently an MPH student, which is pretty cool given the circumstances of the novel coronavirus that we're facing as a globe. And some fun facts about me: I'm bilingual. Yo hablo español. Yo aprendí en Ecuador cuando yo era misionera en 2011 a 2012. I am a first-generation American. I'm half Nigerian and half Grenadian, so a lot of flavor in my family. I have two brothers, and I'm in the middle, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I love to learn. I love reading. I love food from pretty much any culture. I love to travel. I love singing. I love dancing. I play a wide variety of instruments like violin and viola, French horn, flute, some piano as well. I love acting. I love musicals. I love improv. I really love doing town theater when I get the chance. And I'm an ANFJ, which is basically an INFJ plus an ENFJ since I'm an ambivert. So that's a little bit about me, but ultimately, I really enjoy speaking on a deep, no judgment level with people. And I'm really not a fan of surface level conversation. I actually would rather have one-on-one, personal, intimate conversations because I truly believe that everyone has a story to tell and a testimony that should be heard. And I want to hear it. And I know many of you want to hear them as well. And so that's what this platform is for. You might be wondering where I got the name First Paso. Well, in Spanish, paso means step. So this is a first step that we're taking on this podcast. And I've been giving advice and motivating people of all ages and backgrounds literally since I could talk. It's just something I'm really passionate about, and helping and serving others to the best of my ability makes my heart tick. I hadn't really felt comfortable or ready to do something that sounded so big, like starting a podcast or anything, but I feel as though I've been preparing for this my entire life. In fact, my older brother has been encouraging me for almost a decade to start something more public. So here I am. And I'm finally ready to take my first paso and use my gift through this platform to showcase my personality a little bit. So the goal vibe of this podcast is a number of things. I call them my 5 H's: healing, health, humor, honesty, and heart. I hope that that's what you take away from each episode, and that you're constantly learning something. We're learning that we're growing from each other. And so I'm excited to start this venture and share my heart on topics that people may need help facing or figuring out. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook at First Paso and ask me any questions for help in any area of life. You can request any topics of discussion you'd like to hear on future episodes, or if you just want to share your point of view with me that I can share on a future episode based on whatever the topic of conversation is, I'd love that. We can talk about things that are personal, medical, spiritual, hypothetical, academic, general, how to do XYZ. You name it, it doesn't matter to me. I just want us to help each other grow and learn, and I want to hear from you. Now, I will be the first to say that I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm Jesus or something and I have all the wisdom of the world. I do not want to be seen as that. But when I don't have an appropriate answer, or if I feel that someone can really explain something better than I could, I'm going to try to look for someone to do that and who does have a better grasp of a concept than me. So you'll find many conversations on this podcast with people whose stories really inspire, or their advice can be beneficial for a lot of us. And I also want to say that just because we take a first step into something, out of something, towards something, or even away from something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to something successful. I think we all know that on a baseline level, which may also be a reason why we haven't taken first steps in other areas of our lives. However, if we allow those failures and unfortunate circumstances or even disappointments teach us something, then they can give us the wisdom in making future first steps and the steps thereafter, and even enough wisdom to share and impart our knowledge, our firsthand knowledge, so that way other people can maybe prevent themselves from making the mistakes that we did. And so at the end of the day, my hope is that in talking things through, giving different aspects of life a voice, then we can all start helping each other take life's first pasos together. So really, I'm just here to serve you, and I hope that this platform will make the start of our journeys worthwhile. So with that being said, let's get into today's topic. Today's episode is on the topic of la positividad, which is positivity. Today's question comes from Twitter user bodysnatcher82, and they ask, how do you stay positive and move forward when life is so sad and hard? Which is actually a really great question, given the times that we're living in right now. There's a lot of change, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of confusion, misunderstanding, there's pent-up anger and rage that's starting to come out. So for me, it's usually about perspective and focus. So like I said, we're quarantined, people are dying, we don't know what's really going on, we're physically distancing ourselves from each other, we're, pulled out of school and out of work prematurely to do online schooling or Zoom business meetings and whatnot, or we're having to go bankrupt and close our businesses altogether. Many people won't get a formal graduation this year, and education might be slightly delayed for some, especially those who need to complete internships and rotations, clinicals, all those things to move forward and be quote unquote on time, right? There's this loss of community, or a sense that we've lost some level of community because of the adjustments we're making during this pandemic. There are people who are actually living in unsafe situations during this time, and they're being told to stay in their homes with people that might be hurting them. And that's very difficult to process. There's people who are still battling addictions at this time, that the pandemic doesn't care about your addiction, and your body doesn't care about the pandemic, and your mind doesn't either. And so there's people who are fighting more battles than just the regular day-to-day, how do I get through a pandemic situation. There's people whose mental health are declining, or people who have been battling with mental health before it's getting worse, and people who usually don't find themselves in a negative mental state are finding themselves now in a negative mental state. The news is overwhelming. Social media is overwhelming, and it's bringing out characters, it's bringing out the hearts of people that you never expected to see. You never expected to see that side of some people, and it's maybe causing you to question whether you should be friends with certain people. And it's starting to feel very political, and that sense of overwhelming negativity is showering us. Unless, you're watching either Governor Cuomo in New York, or Governor Andy Beshear and his dream team, Virginia and Kenneth here in Kentucky. they are rocking it, leading their states and helping other people across the nation stay calm as well. But there's still an overall sense of heaviness in our hearts and on our minds. There's people that we haven't been able to visit, like our loved ones, our elderly population. Some of us, we've had to wave at them through the window, and people are giving birth at this time, and not all hospitals are allowing the significant others to be in the delivery room due to fear of spreading of COVID. That's really hard. That's so hard, especially if you want to be there for your baby's mother, for your wife, your significant other, and you're being told that you're not allowed to for the safety of the baby, for the mother, and other people in the hospital. There's people who are passing away during this time, whether it's from COVID or not. That's still painful and difficult to process, and realize that you may not get to have a formal funeral, and you may not even be able to attend a funeral if there is one. You might have to watch it online if that's available. And even if you are able to be there, it's cold because you can't touch each other. You can't hug each other like you usually would during the grieving process at a funeral or a viewing. Toilet paper and hand sanitizer and masks have been scarce throughout the country. And let me tell you, for me, when I realized that people thought the apocalypse had begun was when milk was gone and eggs were scarce. I was like, oh, Holy Ghost, come through. I don't know. People think this is it. This is the world's over. And that was a lot to look at and see the panic. It's died down a little bit, I think, as far as going shopping is concerned. But there are protests now, and it's really getting to people, and states are opening up, and the frustration is still there, and it's coming out in different ways now. And now the question is, what will the phasing plans look like? Each state will be different. Each governor has to make decisions. All mayors have to make difficult choices for the citizens of their city or their state, and that's going to be difficult for people to process. Not everyone is going to agree. And it can look really bleak. It can look really depressing. Sometimes you might feel like you can't breathe because it's just too much to handle. You might be holding back tears, seeing how people are starting to hate each other and attack each other because of what we're all going through. But again, for me, pushing through sadness and difficult times is about perspective and focus. So if you're in a safe place to quarantine, be thankful. You may be getting the opportunity to heal broken relationships that you never felt you were given the quality time to try to do. Be happy, be thankful, be joyful for that. You might be an essential worker or you can work from home, but financially you're okay. And you might still be on the front lines for this to happen, but you have the money to support your family. If you're one of those people, be thankful. If you were able to get a stimulus check on time to pay bills and feed your family, be thankful. Be happy. If you have the honor of serving on the front lines of this global pandemic, first off, thank you to all of you, to the medical providers, the public health workers, the cleaners of the hospitals and clinics, the testing centers, the grocery store workers, the restaurant owners, everyone who's putting their lives on the line every day for us in some way, shape, or form. Thank you. And be joyful that you get to serve for the sake of others and really go out there and protect us because of your work. And we're praying for you guys. Really, truly, thank you. If you get to spend more time with your family, and I know for parents right now that may be a lot to hear because, on one hand, you think, oh, I don't have enough time with my kids most of the time. But now that they've been home for so long and I'm trying to teach them and figuring out Zoom with my kids, and then realizing that I might have to be with them all summer, you might feel overwhelmed. especially depending what type of child you have, if they have attention deficit disorders, if they're handicapped, if they have mental challenges, emotional challenges, that can be very exhausting. You might not have the babysitters and things like that, but realize that the time that you have with family is so precious and you never know when that time is coming back. So try to see it as positive, as growth, as development of relationships that you may or may not have again. And now we might be physically distancing, but we have the opportunity to, what my friend Dan Ram always says, socially enhance. So you can create tighter bonds and really take the time to have quality conversations with people during this time and catch up with people you haven't spoke to in a while. Be thankful for that. You may be away from your friends, but praise God you have a cell phone, you have Snapchat, you have TikTok, you have IG, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, so many different outlets to connect. Because let me tell you, if this was 15 years ago or pre-2000, I promise you, because I remember what it was like during Y2K, you would go crazy thinking of how to connect with someone and it not being as readily accessible to you. So be thankful that we still have ways to connect with each other. And you may finally have the opportunity to work on specific projects like me doing this podcast, wanting to start something new and really take those lifestyle changes seriously, or eating healthier and exercising more consistently. Be thankful for that. If you are religious, you may get the time to spend with God that you've really been needing in your faith and your relationship with God. If that's really important to you, or if you desire to start or grow your relationship with God better, you have the time now. Be thankful. You may have more time to be outdoors, getting fresh air. You might be able to journal your thoughts and feelings through this crisis as much as you want. There's more people recovering from coronavirus than there are dying. And we're all going to come out stronger because we made it through this crisis together with a sense of unity across the world. And if we're living one more day through this, especially if you had coronavirus and you've actually recovered from it, we can count our blessings. We can be thankful. So while, yes, many things can look horrible, they can look scary, anxiety-provoking during this time or any other time that crisis hits or things are sad in our lives or just downright frustrating, while all those things can happen, there are many other things that we can look forward to or experience in the now, in the present, that aren't so scary. So what we shouldn't do is bottle the negativity. In fact, we need to speak positivity into existence, even when we don't feel like we have anything positive to say and believe in the moment. If we do that, then we can help ourselves to eventually believe it and receive it as our reality. So I encourage you to speak the positivity you desire in the world, in your world. And don't just speak it in your head, but speak it aloud so you audibly hear it coming from your own voice. Be your greatest encourager through life's storms. Because why not? You're with yourself all the time. You might as well be as positive around yourself as you can be, right? So my question for you is, what are you doing to stay positive during this time? Or what are some things that you do or have done that help you get through sad or negative times? Hit me up on Twitter or on the Facebook page for First Paso and DM me or hit me up on Twitter or Facebook at First Paso and let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say and read a few of them in future episodes. That's it. That's today's episode. And I thank you guys so much for listening today. I really appreciate you guys giving me a chance to step into your world and really walk life with you, or at least help you take your first paso in something. And if there are any topics that you want to cover in the future, again, hit me up online. But until then, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.